You got to like when you open a hearing strongly enough that the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee is startled. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This committee will come to order. Today, the committee will consider the nomination of Sean Duffy to be Secretary of Transportation. If confirmed, Congressman Duffy will take the helm of a department with more than 55,000 employees, leading the administration's efforts to make it easier and faster for families, commuters, truckers, and flyers to get around without running into traffic, potholes, or delays. Congressman Duffy comes to the Department of Transportation at a pivotal moment. In aviation, the FAA continues a persistent shortage of air traffic controllers as it works to instill a culture of safety across the industry. On the roads, President Trump has moved to stop costly and unpopular electric vehicle mandates so that every American can choose to buy the car of his or her choice. Meanwhile, across all sectors, the department faces the rise of emerging technologies like unmanned drones and self-driving cars, which bring both opportunities and challenges. Congressman Duffy is prepared to meet these challenges. To quote Senator Baldwin at his hearing last week, quote, "Sean is the right person for this job." A 5-term congressman and former co-chair of the Great Lakes Task Force, Representative Duffy has successfully advanced transportation projects like the St. Croix Crossing with strong bipartisan and bicameral support. As Secretary, he will prioritize safety while fixing our broken permitting process. Sadly, radical environmentalists have captured federal permitting and shifted it from NIMBY to bananas, as in build absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone. I expect that to end with Secretary Duffy. He will work, as Senator Baldwin said, with both sides of the aisle to improve our infrastructure and address the challenges that arise in the years ahead. Most importantly, Congressman Duffy's personal experiences, his wife Rachel's head-on crash, his dedication to raising a daughter with a disability, show that he appreciates the responsibility of the role. He told us, quote, "As the father of 9 kids, I think about transportation quite a bit, and about transportation safety a lot." He knows what American families face in their daily lives and how important safety is to them. In many ways, he embodies the revolution of common sense that President Trump has called for. I hope we can agree Mr. Duffy is the kind of consensus-driven leader we need to oversee the Department of Transportation, and I urge my colleagues to support his nomination. I will now turn to Ranking Member Cantwell for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are here today to vote on the nomination of former Congressman Sean Duffy of Wisconsin to be the Secretary of Transportation. And as the chair just mentioned, there are many reasons why the Secretary of Transportation is important, not just to our committee, but to the nation. I hope that this year we will start work on another surface transportation bill, because it's not too soon to continue to focus on the infrastructure investments that will grow the economy of the future. The Constitution provides that a president shall nominate and by and with the consent of the Senate move forward. This is not a partisan exercise, rather a constitutional obligation. And regardless of what party holds the White House or the majority, our shared goal as a committee must be for every nominee to have a fair and thorough and complete process. So I appreciate the majority waiting until today when we finally got Mr. Duffy's FBI reports. That's, I think, the way the committee should operate. Mr. Duffy received a tough but fair questioning from many members. I don't know that his family was ready for this many hours of questioning, but they did well and survived. I believe that we will advance his nomination with bipartisan support today. During our hearing last week, Mr. Duffy and in subsequent meetings that I've met with, has had the opportunity to talk about many things that are important, not just to my state, but to the nation, on a strong and resilient transportation network that allows us to compete in a global economy. In my state, the bipartisan infrastructure bill delivered on billions of dollars of investment in many projects throughout the state of Washington, including our ports, because as a gateway state, we grow a lot of products all throughout the country that are delivered through our ports to Asia. I was pleased that Mr. Duffy, in response to questioning last week, stated clearly that the funding for these infrastructure priorities and critical infrastructure needs are already underway, and that he will honor the funding commitments made in the last administration. Mr. Duffy committed that these funding decisions will be free from political interference under his leadership at the Department of Transportation. I know that many people have seen President Trump's executive order issued Monday that potentially froze all bipartisan infrastructure funding, which raised new concerns. Thankfully, Mr. Duffy has clarified for me and many others on this committee that he's going to continue to work to expedite transportation infrastructure investments that have been made by this Congress and hope to get these projects completed. This is critical because we've learned through the pandemic that supply chains are critical to our investment, to moving systems throughout the United States, our roads, our bridges, our public transit, our ports, our railroad, because they are part of a holistic system. Building a resilient transportation system that mitigates disruptions and drives down costs for businesses and consumers should be our highest priority. That is why I had authored many programs that helped us do that, like the grade railroad crossing elimination and mega programs. I'm pleased that Mr. Duffy also signaled this week for many important initiatives that this committee talked to him about. I'll let committee members talk about the commitments and conversations they had both at the hearing and in subsequent conversation. I want to say I do remain concerned about Project 2025 and this administration's war against electric vehicles. I think the Project 2025 derogatory language with respect to transportation raises some serious questions, but I'm sure that will go on in a long debate well past today's hearing. So I look forward to supporting Mr. Duffy's nomination, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you to the ranking member. I now recognize Ranking Member Cantwell for a motion.
Did anybody else want to speak? Or are you going to wait till after? We'll do that after. Okay. I move the nomination of Sean Duffy to be Secretary of Transportation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I ask for a roll call vote.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Thune? Aye. Mr. Wicker? Aye. Mrs. Fisher? Aye. Mr. Moran? Aye. Mr. Sullivan? Aye. Mrs. Blackburn? Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Budd? Aye. Mr. Schmidt? Aye. Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
Mr. Moreno?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehy?
Aye.
Mrs. Capito? Ms. Lummis?
Aye.
Ms. Cantwell?
Aye.
Ms. Klobuchar?
Aye.
Mr. Schatz? Mr. Markey? Mr. Peters? Ms. Baldwin? Ms. Duckworth? Ms. Rosen? Mr. Lujan? Mr. Hickenlooper? Mr. Fetterman?
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Kim? Ms. Blunt Rochester? Mr. Cruz?
Aye.
The yeses are 28, the noes are 0.
The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to, and the nomination is ordered to be reported favorably. And I think this also augurs well for this committee to start with such a strong bipartisan and unanimous vote. With that, I'm now happy if folks want to leave, they can, but if there are members who want to be recognized to talk on Secretary Duffy, Senator Klobuchar.
So I guess that Secretary Duffy's going to have a lot on his shoulders with that strong bipartisan vote. I will say I worked with him, and Senator Baldwin was involved in this as well, with legislation that I led on the bridge from Minnesota to Wisconsin. I mentioned it at the hearing, and he we actually had to get a bill passed through both chambers, and one was at the time Democratic, one was Republican, and we were able to get an exemption into law to allow a most beautiful bridge to be built. And I appreciated his willingness to work with me. I thought he did a good job at his hearing. I told him that. But I think it's really important with his words and with this vote that he follow through on that bipartisan work, to work with members about projects in their district, to make sure that the funding gets completed from the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And I am concerned about the recent executive order, which I shared with him, to stop the rollout of some of the funding, delaying and adding costs, in my mind, to these projects. So I hope that he will be an advocate for getting these projects done and moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The Senator yield? Did the Senator yield? Senator Klobuchar? Senator?
Sure. Senator Markey, you're
No,
recognized.
I just wanted to associate myself with your comments. Okay, that's all, yeah.
Anyone else wish to be recognized? Hearing nothing, that concludes our markup for today. This executive session is adjourned.